Hello, and welcome to My Life as I See It. Believe it or not, this is now episode 4 from season 2. And it is also the start of, I'm hoping to be a really semi regular series of, shows of memories of my family. And don't worry, my family doesn't have to worry about the bad ones. I won't tell any bad stories. It'll be all fun, good stories so they can relax. I have to say that because. So today's show, I'm starting off with an introduction, really, of my family, of which I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters who unfortunately have since passed away in the last number of years. Starting with my brother, I'm going to go in order of their age. I'm the baby of the family, so that makes it easy because I'm at the bottom. So now we have brother Morris. Now, Morris is obviously the oldest. He's also, I would think, at this point, was growing up, was probably one of the wackiest in my family, although the other ones certainly took their place. But he was also my big brother. And, it's ironic because by the time I came along, he was long gone out of the house. Because, I mean, let's face it, I'm 20, I'm 20, I wish I was 20. I'm 59 years old. He's in his early 80s. So there's a bit of an age gap there. So a lot of these memories come from obviously when I was older. However, there were a couple of them that I was told about. There was one I was told about that Brother Morris was a wrestling fan. And as a wrestling fan back in the day, this is in the 70s, 60s even, yeah, 60s, where he was a big wrestling fan. And every Saturday morning he would watch his wrestling. So, and then, of course, sometimes he would come over to our place out in the afternoon, and he would practice some of his wrestling moves on me. He also had this thing where he would put me up, lie on his back, and have me up like this, and hold me up like an airplane. And I sort of remember the airplane bit, but he's always been, my big brother. I love him dearly. And talking to him is interesting though because you can't get 2 words out of him in a row practically. But talking is interesting. However, he is also, as far as I'm concerned, like I say, the jokester of the family, and he would pull pranks on a lot of people, especially his wife. I don't know how many times he told his wife that he was moving, even though they weren't. So when they were actually finally transferred, she didn't believe him for the longest time. He would, and um, I have a picture of him playing with. I had a little accordion for kids, and I have a picture of him playing with this thing that it's really cute. But he also had false teeth, and when he first got his set of false teeth, he had a lot of fun with them. He would take them out all the time. We have one family photo, and I am not kidding you, where I'm standing in front of him with my brothers and sisters, right? We were there for our one brother's wedding. And he had taken his dentures out and put them on top of my head. I was not aware of this, so after the picture was taken. And then, until the one day he had gone into, was visiting, we were visiting my aunt, and they were living in this nice property that had their own built-in lake, mini lake practically, nice big pond, and it was deep. And I was swimming in it, but I always had a life jacket on, which was great because I could just stop and I would float. So he was out in the canoe with I think my other brother, and he had taken his false teeth and had put them in his pocket. Well, the canoe tipped over. His teeth fell out of the pocket. And as far as I know, to this day, they're still there. He never could find them. He had to go and buy a new set of dentures. He never took them out of his mouth the rest of the time. He learned his lesson the hard way. Uh, But he was always, and you couldn't embarrass him. You just couldn't embarrass him. You couldn't. He could embarrass you, no problem, but you couldn't embarrass him. So that brings me to the next one, Carol. Well, unfortunately, she died a number of years ago of dementia concerns. And when I was born, she was already was married and was living in the Bahamas. So I didn't see her for a long time. And if I did see her, I don't have any real memories of her until I was, I believe, in grade 2. I think. Or was it grade 3? Grade 3. Well, it was grade 2. I moved so much, it's hard to tell. But yeah, it was grade 2. And she had come up with some of her kids. And we had a great time. It was winter time. And I remember having a lot of fun with her. But I really didn't know her as my sister so much. And I saw her a few other times after that, which was nice. I mean, I loved my sister, and I was, she was my big sister again, right? Yeah, right, big compared to me. But again, we weren't really all that close. Then I went down there in the Bahamas for a visit one time by myself. First time traveling by myself. And I stayed 2 weeks with my sister Linda and 1 week with Carol. And during that week, I got to know her a bit better. Her one oldest son had been living with us for quite some time during the school year, going to school up here. But I had saw him, and she went to introduce him. So and keep in mind at this point, again, they're older than me because her kids are a lot. 2 of her kids were older than me. I mean, I was already an aunt twice when I was born. Okay. And she went to introduce him. Now he's 6'4", and I'm a little thing at that point. I'm still not that tall. So it's like, hi, I want you to meet your Aunt Evelyn. And I'm looking up at him. Hello up there. Ha ha. Even though, like I say, I knew him because he was living with us for a while. But when I was 18, she had come up to Canada for another wedding. While she was here, I forget how many weeks it was. Was it 3? I think it was 3, but it could have been 6. I can't remember at this point, unfortunately. But it was quite a long time. We went on the road. She was on the road traveling all over Ontario visiting her friends that she hadn't seen in a long time. And I got to go along with her. So I spent all this time on the road with her. We really got to know each other then and became extremely close. So when she died, it hurt a lot because she probably was the one person in my family that I was the closest to, even though she was so far away. She did move up to Canada, back to Canada for a little while, but she missed Bahamas. She was more Bahamian at that point. When she came to my wedding, she got mad because she had to actually wear shoes and a bra. Yeah, okay, I gotta wear shoes and a bra too, so you gotta wear shoes and a bra. Nah. But that's just the way she was. She was, very laid back. Nothing upset her. She was the best. I just adored her. That brings me now to the next one in line. And that is my sister Linda. And again, unfortunately, she died a little over a year ago. Same problem. Dementia. Doesn't look good for me, I tell you. And growing up, she was very special to me. At that time, I probably was the closest to her. She came to visit. She also was living in the Bahamas. But she came up fairly often to visit. And I always enjoyed her visits. A lot of times she was, sleep in my bedroom and the whole bit. And I talked about Linda in the past. But she was the one, when I went, like I said, I had gone down to the Bahamas when I was probably the grade 9 in the summer. And I was staying with her because she paid for my trip. And so the first and last week I was with her. And while I was with her, we had a blast. I had so much fun with her. But she also taught me how to do needlepoint because that's what she was in. She was into all that stuff, and she was really good at it. So we got what? So I got into that, and I got doing it with her, and I've always liked doing it. I did it for a long time. I would love to do it now, but it's gone too expensive, and it's hard to find good actual needlepoint. She also taught me how to do cross stitch, but again, I don't understand this need to do counted cross stitch. I mean, it's difficult enough as it is. You don't need that. I mean, if they can put the color coded on the needlepoint, I don't understand why they can't do that for cross stitch. But they don't. Oh, you can find them, but it's hard to find. And yeah, I mean, she had this knack. She had this macaroni and cheese dish that she made. Oh my God, it was so good. And I've got the recipe, but I've never dared to try how to do it. I believe my sister-in-law Carol tried it one time, and it didn't turn out the same way. But it was so good, both hot or cold. It was a family favorite. But unfortunately, near the end, we weren't as close as we used to be. But I don't care with that now. I mean, we'd made up near the end, I think, I hope. And I know she loved me in her own way. My whole family loves me in their own way. It's just that we don't always see eye to eye. That's another day. But that's my sister Linda. Now that comes to Alan, brother Alan. Alan, what can I say with Alan? Oh my God, what can I say with Alan? Oh, he's warped. He's insane, and I love him. You can't get a straight answer out of him. You can't. It's impossible. I went to ask him one time if they had come. Him and his wife Selena had come in for a visit, and I was about to go out, so I went to ask Alan. Let's see. Should I wear a jacket? Is it cool enough for a jacket? Well, next thing I know, I'm getting a 10-minute tirade. How it's the sun's up and it's a little bit windy and on and on. I never really did get a straight answer. Finally, Selena came up and said, "Yeah, it's a bit cool. You might want a jacket." I should have known better. But that's where he was. We would go for a drive. Every now and then he would go out for a drive because he was. At that point, Selena, I think, was in nursing school, and he was going to get her or something like that. So every now and then he would come by and he'd pick me up and take me out for a drive, or he'd take Mama out for a drive with him, and that was great. Apparently, growing up, I always said goodnight to him last when we were living together, because apparently I lived with him at one point in my life, but I don't remember. So that was, like I say, he's in his early 70s, so I don't know. And but he's great. He's also a jokester. And when it was time for me to get married, of course, at that point, unfortunately, my dad was no longer with us, unfortunately. So I was trying to choose who was going to walk me down the aisle, and I figured Morris, being the oldest, he'd be the good choice. But apparently, Alan didn't like this. He wanted to be the one to walk me down the aisle. So I said, okay, fine. He walked me down the aisle, and Morris was the Toastmaster of the night, MC, you might say. And it worked out pretty well because, I mean, I was glad to walk with him down the aisle. But, just trying to get a straight answer. There was one time when Morris and his wife Sharon were up to visit with their 2 kids. They were staying with Alan, Selena, and their 2 kids, and they were down in the rec room sleeping. And the 4 kids were in the kitchen making breakfast for themselves. And Morris woke up and heard them talking upstairs. Apparently, they were trying to figure out whose dad was the craziest, because they both figured their dad was the craziest. Okay, now that tells you the state of affairs in this family at times, because they're all warped. Okay, they're hilarious. Their Loisal humor is hilarious. Okay, now that brings us to Richard. Now Richard is the next oldest to me. He just turned 65 this past July. And now that he's 65, I know I'm getting close to that point too. I'm not good. But he's the one brother that I actually remember living with all my life. And we were very close growing up. I hung out with him a lot. I had a crush on one of his friends. They had no idea. And I'm not gonna say which one. I was around with them when they came in. But I have a lot of fond memories of spending time with my brother Richard. Either downstairs on Langarth when I wasn't fighting with him for the noise of the stereo unit. I was down there a lot of times with him and his friend listening to music. He'd go for drives, and his idea of a drive to see was to go around and go check out all the fire stations in the city, or we'd go out and check out all the places that made fire trucks. He's a big fire truck fanatic. How they build them and that sort of thing. And he's always has been, and he still is to this day. But we go out, and that's what we would do, was check out these things. His first vehicle was a pickup truck, a yellow pickup truck. He had more fun with that truck. And there was one time, my two friends and I were walking down Emerald Street and that west, and at that point, they didn't have the curbs. It's all straight out. And we're walking along, and we see him and his friend in his yellow truck coming up toward us. And there was absolutely no traffic around, so we were pretty safe. He decided to have some fun. He started to turn, and he was going to drive right for us. Now, obviously, he wasn't going to hit us, but at the time, we weren't taking any chances. The next thing he knows, Debbie's probably climbing up a tree. Linda's going around the back of the house, and I'm running in another direction. And he's coming from laughing because he knows what he did, okay? Other times he would go and Debbie would be visiting me, and it would be late at night. So he would drive her home. Now, he knew the first time he took her there, I don't think he may have been aware. He probably was aware, but he would get to a corner and he would say, okay, do we go left, right, or straight? And if she says left, he would turn right or go straight. And he did this. We went all over the place. He finally did get to her home. It was hilarious. And like I say, I've always been very close to him. And now that he's married and he's off, I'm not as close as I was to any of my family members at this point as I used to be growing up. I'm not really surprised because we all have our own interests in that and everything. But I know that they love me. I know they'll be there for me, like that they were earlier this year. And I would do almost anything for them at this point because I do love them. But that's my family. That's just the start of the family traditions. I have lots of memories with my family and my friends and me in my life in general that I love to share. Some are good, and unfortunately, some are not so good. But I'm going to try when I talk about my family, I'm going to stick with just the good part because I don't want to. I don't want to air that kind of business. But I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you found my stories interesting, and this didn't take me as long as I thought it would, which is good. But in that case, if you did, please share this video. Please subscribe to my show. I would love for you to do that, and I hope please make comments if you found anything interesting, or if you have any ideas that you want me to talk about. And I will. Look at them. In the meantime, I'm going to go. On a good note, on a personal note here, I had my first vaccine a few weeks ago, and my son just got his vaccine just a few days ago. So we're good for the next one now. And hopefully everybody else out there is getting their vaccines because we can't get out of this pandemic unless we do. And the sooner we get out of this pandemic, the better for all of us. because I'm sick being at home all the time. So, anyhow, but on this note, you have a good day and a good week, and I will see you next week. Don't forget, in a little at around 3 o'clock, Robert and I will be doing our show, Family Friend TV Discuss. And on Thursday night, we also have our Friend TV game night. Don't forget to watch those, because again, so we can have some fun with that. So for now, bye.